Hello and welcome to the Cash Game Locks podcast. I am Big Italy 42 here talking about FanDuel and DraftKings, giving you some ideas of guys you should be considering in your cash games, as well as a couple sample lineups for you here. Kind of give you a little basis of where I'm looking and some guys you're going to want to target. Maybe some guys that are in good spots, good price, things of that nature. So starting off here at FanDuel, you've got some good options. Max Scherzer is going to be your top option at $12,500, but with a gaming course, a couple other games with high totals, teams in good spots, I'm not going to be paying up for Max Scherzer in my cash games. There's some other big bats I really want to get in there with him, so I think he is your top option if you want to pay up at 12.5, but it's going to be pretty tough to fit other big bats in there if you go with Scherzer. Other options, Jake Arrieta at $10,200 I think is an interesting play against Pittsburgh. He's the guy that can pitch deep into games. He's got a nice strikeout rate as well on the season, so he's certainly a guy you consider. Other options, I really like Jimmy Nelson, $7,600. He's a marginal favorite, but you look at what he's done recently in his last four games: 7, 6 and a third, 7 and 7 innings pitched, 13, 15.33, 16 and 15 fantasy points. It's only $7,600. I think he makes a lot of sense for your cash games. Other options, you've got Alex Wood at $8,200. Monster minus 200 favorite against Philly. Philly is a better team against lefties than they are against righties, but Jerome Williams on the other side, you expect he'll get some run support. If he's even decent, he should be pretty much a lock for that win. You expect the Dodgers to give him plenty of run support. So for this lineup, I want Jimmy Nelson. Catcher options, you have quite a few of them. I really like Yasmani Grandal at $3,400. Same goes for Russell Martin at that same price. But the one guy who's way underpriced, he has been struggling recently, but Victor Martinez, $2,600. He is absolutely destroying left-handed pitching as he does throughout his career. He's batting just 166 in the second half, so you really don't like that. But what you do like is the fact that throughout his career, he's been a great hitter. He's closer to men's salary. Got to like him tonight against Danny Duffy, who does have his struggles with right-handed batters. Obviously, Bmart a switch hitter. Another option, if you want to go cheap, Jesus Montero, if he's in the lineup, played first base last night, $2,300. He's a fine option as well. First base options here, Adrian Gonzalez at $3,300, probably going to be a pretty popular play, rightfully so, against Jerome Williams. Jerome Williams, one of the worst starting pitchers in all of baseball, facing off against the Dodgers tonight, who just so happen to be the best offense in baseball against right-handed pitching. Jerome Williams, $354 WOBA allowed to lefties. He's actually worse against righties, but I really like Adrian Gonzalez at that price here. Other options, you've got Edwin Encarnacion at $4,500. I don't know that I want to pay the top price for him against Phil Hughes, but is a fly ball pitcher in Rogers Center. I prefer Mark Teixeira a little bit at 43 there at Yankee Stadium. Other options, you got Prince Fielder at $3,800, facing off against Dan Straley. Dan Straley hasn't obviously pitched very much this season. Fielder been one of the more consistent options at first base. If not him, I really like Brandon Belt as well. I do like Brandon Belt. I like him in tournaments at $3,600. The guy I was meaning to say there is Joey Votto at $3,800 against John Lackey. He's had some success against Lackey. Votto, one of the more patient hitters in the league. He has, in his last 10 games, a 4-walk game, a 2-walk game, 2 3-walk games, and then 3 more games with another walk. So, I mean, he's a guy that gives you a nice high floor, always gives you good at-bats. Got to love that in your cash games. Second base options, Robinson Cano is going to be the guy you want to pay up for if you're paying up. If you can't afford Robinson Cano, my favorite swerve off him is Howie Kendrick, $3,100. Once again, picking on Jerome Williams. This guy who's homered in 2 of his last 3 games, multi-hits in 3 of his last 5 games. He's going to have a nice lineup spot at just $3,100 in this great matchup. The Dodgers have one of the higher team totals in the night. Gotta like him. Other options, Anthony Rendon at $3,100. Gets the lefty and Patrick Corbin. I do like Patrick Corbin, but Rendon should be batting near the top of that order. And he's been a great hitter against left-handed pitching throughout his career. Was one of the better in the league last year, especially in the middle infield. Third base options here. Kyle Seager had a huge game last night. I can't fathom a way that you don't play Kyle Seager in your cash games here at $4,200. There are some other options. Manny Machado, $4,200. Solid righty-righty matchup. He's very good in righty-righty matchups. Another guy you can consider is Adrian Beltre, coming off hitting for the cycle last night. The guy's been on fire recently. A 4-hit game, 2 2-hit games, and a 3-hit game in his last 6. $3,300. He's a fine play as well. Outside of that, you like Matt Carpenter at $3,200. He's a fine cash game play also. No one else that really jumps off the page to me as a great cash game play. So those are the guys I'm targeting for the most part. Shortstop options. Brad Miller, $3,000. He homered last night. In a good spot once again today. Gets the face off against the prospect John Gray. Everyone talking about him. But Brad Miller, I believe he batted 7th last night. You didn't like that, but you want to get a piece of Coors Field where you can. His teammate, Ketel Marte, went over 4 last night. Not a guarantee he'll play. He might sit out tonight anyway. So if I am not getting Brad Miller, I'd love to pay up for Troy Tulowitzki at $4,500 if you can make that happen. And you really can with if you roster a guy like Jimmy Nelson at pitcher. So that's certainly another route you could go. Outfield options. I'm still paying for Nelson Cruz tonight. Paid for him last night. The guy's on fire. Homers in 4 straight games. He's in Coors Field. I mean, there's a lot to like about this guy. He's got 11 hits in his last 4 games, and 6 of those are either home runs or doubles. So, most expensive option, but may very well be worth it. If you want some cheap pieces, Andre Ethier at $2,700 and Preston Tucker at $31 are the ones I've got slotted in here. Other guys you can consider in your cash games, there's quite a few of them from top to bottom. I like Jacoby Ellsbury's price at $3,600. Same goes for Gerardo Parra right below him at $3,500 against a righty. Other options, Chris Young at $3,200. You know you love him against a lefty. He's had some big performances recently, so he's certainly in play. Marlon Byrd had some success against John Lackey, $3,000. I don't think he's a bad option either. Outside of that, I'm trying to get cheap pieces of Coors Field and the Dodgers for the most part. If you want to get cheap pieces of Toronto, I don't blame you there either. One interesting play, Kyle Parker, if he's in the lineup, min salary, $2,200. If you just fill out everyone else, you got some big bats, maybe a big pitcher. You want to fill out a Coors bat, and he's in the lineup. I don't mind going that route either. Moving on here to DraftKings, where you've got tough decisions here. This tentative lineup I have made here has $1,400 left over, and I actually really, really love this lineup. You could pay up for pitching, of course, but guys like Max Scherzer, of course, 13.5. Got Chris Sale at 12, Archer at 11.7, Arrieta at 11.5. It's really tough to pay for a lot of these guys tonight. So for me, I'm going with 2 middling options. And first one being Jimmy Nelson. Once again, he's $8,200. I love that matchup. There are a couple other guys I'm considering. Matt Shoemaker at $7,500. Alex Wood at $74. I think Alex Wood probably your best bet. Obviously, being that huge favorite, coming off a really nice performance against Baltimore. So this lineup, Nelson and Wood are the guys that I am going with. Catcher, Yasmani Grandal at $3,500. Way too cheap. This guy crushes the ball from the left side of the plate. Obviously, picking on Mr. Jerome Williams there wherever I can. Adrian Gonzalez, his teammate at $4,000 at first base. Same guys I mentioned on FanDuel, also in play here. Right around that same price. I like Edwin Encarnacion. I think he's way underpriced for this matchup. Not sure I'll play him in cash. I think I still prefer Adrian Gonzalez. I think he'll be a more popular play. Other guys you can consider at first base, once again, paying up. You can go Prince Fielder at $4,300. You can go Joey Votto at $47. I think any of those guys are a fine play for you. Second base options. This is kind of showing you what you could do differently. You got Robinson Cano at $47. You've got Howie Kendrick at $42. Not nearly as much of a discrepancy as there is on FanDuel, so take your pick here. Not hard to fit either one of them, and I think those are the top 2 options. Ben Zobrist at $43 if you want to be a little bit different is a fine play. Same for Ruggiero Dort at $3,800. I like him quite a bit. Those are really the only guys I'm looking at. If you wanted to pay down Anthony Rendon, I don't blame you, but I think that Kendrick and Cano will be pretty highly owned, so it's going to be tough to fade them. One guy I certainly will not be fading in cash games, Kyle Seagers, $3,800. All he did last time was put up 33 DraftKings points, stole a base, hit a homer, hit a double, had a single, scored 3 runs. The guy did it all. Crazy cheap price tag for him tonight. I'm all over Kyle Seager. He's going to be a very popular play. Moving over to shortstop, another guy who's just way, way, way too cheap tonight. Troy Tulowitzki at his new home in the Rogers Center, facing off against flyball pitcher Phil Hughes. You've got to love Troy Tulowitzki here at $3,900. Just a crazy cheap price for him. If you're not going with him, a guy I mentioned before, Ketel Marte, if he's in the lineup at $2,000, you can go with him. But I find it really hard to not have Troy Tulowitzki in a cash game lineup on DraftKings at this price. And it helps you fit guys like Nelson Cruz, who are up to $6,100. You certainly want to get him in your lineup where you can. Not hard to do if you're not paying up for a guy like Max Scherzer. Then $6,100 expensive. But this lineup, I also got Joey Bautista in there at $4,500. Once again, a big bat against Phil Hughes, struggles with the long ball. and Roger Center, not a good place to struggle with fly balls. Chris Young, the other guy slotted here, he's only $3,000 against the lefty. We know he usually bats second against the lefty, batted fifth, I believe, last time. Either one of those spots is fine. I kind of prefer fifth, give him some more RBI opportunities in what should be a high-scoring game, as it usually is between Boston and New York. Some other options, you got Preston Tucker, way too cheap at $3,600. You got Andre Ethier and Jock Peterson, both under $4,000. In fact, Ethier only $31,000. So a lot of different ways you can go tonight. If you got any questions, find me on Twitter at DFCafe. I'm at BigItaly42. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and check out all of our other great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.